This is
Yeah.
from Playbook this morning. I just want to, this is, I mean, you talk about schedules. This is,
You tweeted while I was talking. Go ahead.
yeah, this is Politico wrote this. Biden has only
Yeah.
42 more days left in office, but within the Democratic Party on Capitol Hill, and even with his own administration, it feels like he's left the Oval Office weeks ago. I mean, that to have that narrative come out from Playbook is just crushing.
Yeah.
So I
So let's talk about, we can talk about that first, and we can talk about Syria. Put up the graphic, please. So
Wait, can't we talk
there's a
about
number. We were in a second, but Sean introduced a new topic. There's a number. I got the joke. There's a number of articles today about some in conjunction with Syria, some not, about the alleged leadership vacuum in the White House. And the president, I've made the joke before. Someone stole it from me today. The Wall Street Journal just ripped my joke off and said, there's one president at the time, but it turns out it's not the current president, it's the incoming president. So this is from the Politico story about Joe Biden. He's been so cavalier and selfish about how he approaches the final weeks of the job, said a former White House official. I actually think I know who it is. I'm not going to guess, but I actually think I know who that is because he said something very similar to me. Dan, we'll start with this. In the context of Syria, but also more generally, is this just like a beltway thing, or is this something voters might care about, or history might judge that Joe Biden on his watch is closing with the pardon and more pardons expected, rather than effectively managing what's going on in the Middle East?
Well, look, I think there's two things about this. I think one, there's always a vacuum when you lose. Like that just always happens, either party, particularly because they also lost the Senate. You just put a theory of the case to the voters. It was rejected, and now you're trying to figure out where to go. And the sitting president and vice president are leaving the stage. So on some level for Democrats, they're in a tried and true position of the interim here before the next president takes office. What is not normal is, I think this is really, history is going to be a harsh judge. This is the culmination of what's really a public humiliation for the party, that their leader is really not capable of being a public figure for the last 5 years. I mean, even when Biden was successful, we've talked about this, passing legislation, the story was always he was behind the scenes. He was not holding town halls and doing lots of press conferences. And I think it was jarring this weekend and in the last week that, here's this huge event at Notre Dame. Joe Biden is Catholic. He loves diplomacy. He loves the global stage. I think his juices really got flowing on Ukraine and stuff like that the last few years. And he's not there. And there is Trump meeting with Zelensky, meeting with Macron. What's going down in Syria, Trump steps forward to make comments. Biden still hasn't addressed the escalation in Ukraine. And I think it's like the kind of stages of recovery for Democrats. Like, this is humiliating for Joe Biden to be so absent and just not really publicly engaged. Even you would think he would be doing something to try to set traps for Trump before he comes in. I mean, just raw politics. You usually do some executive orders and other things that who's coming after you then has to undo, and you hammer him for undoing them. He's just totally not there. And that, I think, is pretty humiliating, and the party's turning to anger now.
So I think there's two sides to this, right? Where the Biden side is obvious. He's not present. But it's the vacuum that Trump, what's unique about this moment is the other side too. Trump's on the stage being greeted in France as if is the current commander in chief. The way that Macron welcomed him to France was unbelible. The pictures of him.
I've never in my career, I've never seen anything like that.
Right. And so again, it's a double-sided coin here, where we've got how Biden is going out, but also how Trump's coming in. He's cutting deals. He's on the world stage. He'll be at the Army-Navy game this weekend. I mean, this is a guy who is, you would think he would be sitting back making announcements, whatever, but he's filling the void. I bet you if you polled people, they think the inauguration was a couple of weeks ago and that he's already president. I think what's going to be interesting, though, in my mind, is how this all kind of I mean, look, this gets back to what we talked about with Biden on the campaign trail initially, and then Kamala. I question whether or not it's not that he's not capable. You don't think he'd want to go to France to see the opening of Notre Dame? And I mean, like as Dan pointed out, he talks about his Catholic faith. You would think that that would be something that he just personally would want to do instead of sending the first lady. I wonder, and I'm being serious in this. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I wonder if there's a bigger issue at hand and whether he can go. Like he's intentionally avoiding stuff. This is his wheelhouse, going to international events and glad handing. And so I'm starting to wonder whether there's a bigger issue at hand.
Yeah, I'll be curious today if stuff leaks. And Sean, my wife said the same thing. We were talking this weekend because I mean, those pictures in France were just stunning. I mean, you're just like, where is? And she's like, I wonder if he can travel.
But Dan, go back to the pictures of Angola. When President Biden was there are pictures of him sleeping. There's a bunch. I mean, it doesn't look good. And I do wonder when we hear about the leaks that Mark's referencing tonight.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Is he engaged or does he come down, take a quick photo op and go back upstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.